Greetings, my peeps, and welcome to the All Things Basketball Podcast with your boy GD. In this episode, we'll be doing Week 16 recap, of course, covering the players of the week, as well as all the news items for the week, including Kyrie demanding a trade and then getting traded to Dallas. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the All-Star reserves. LeBron getting into the record books once again, along with his teammate Russell Westbrook. Also a few altercations, major injury news for a couple of players, as well as your players of the month for January, as well as the coaches of the month, the rookies of the month, and some WNBA free agency news. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, guys, so we are on to Week 16, or Week 16 recap, rather. So we're going to recap Week 16, all that went on. And as I told you previously, guys, it's just going to be a few news items for that week. I'm not going to go into depth into all of the games, just a few of the news items that took place during the week. So let's get into it then. Let us start with, we always start regardless, players of the week, and we'll do that here. So in the West, Damian Lillard for the Portland Trail Blazers. His team went 2-1 for the week. Got wins over San Antonio and Utah, and the one loss was to Toronto. His scoring average for that week, 42.3 points per game, including the 60-point game he had. 7.7 assists and 4 rebounds. He shot it for the week, guys, 63.2% from the field. Wow. Whew, man. That's great. And from three, 51.4% from three. I'm talking about, that's efficient, guys. And then from the free throw line, just 92% from the free throw line. So a fantastic week for Dame. And then we'll talk about Dame a little bit later as well. So that was his week. And for the East, Giannis Antetokounmpo, of course. For the Milwaukee Bucks, his team went 4-0, beating the likes of Detroit, Denver, Indiana, and the Pelicans. Those are the teams that the Bucks beat. And he averaged 38.3 points per game. Included in that is a 50 burger that he had. 12.8 rebounds and 4.5 assists for him. He shot it 62.3% from the field, which, you know, for him, that's kind of the norm there. He actually shot it 46.7% from three, so he actually took some threes last week and was pretty proficient there. Unfortunately, from the free throw line, not as good. About 58% from the free throw line. So higher average from the field than from the free throw line for Giannis. But nonetheless, his team 4 games up and 4 games he won. So that is your players for the week, guys. So let's cover a few news items. Number one, of course, is Kyrie Irving demanding a trade on a Friday, and then 2 days later he gets his wish and gets traded on a Sunday to the Dallas Mavericks. The trade involved himself and Markieff Morris going to the Mavericks in exchange for Spencer Dinwiddie, who was previously a Brooklyn Net, as well as Dorian Finney, also a 2029 first round draft pick and 2 second round picks as well. So let us go through the time, a bit of the timeline for Kyrie and his stay with the Brooklyn Nets, shall we? So we're going to go through that. We'll go through the seasons that he had there, the amount of games. We'll go through that as well. So Kyrie becomes a free agent. He decides not to go back to Boston, so he becomes a free agent along with Kevin Durant. He convinces Kevin Durant, he recruits him and convinces him to join him in Brooklyn. And this took place in the summer of 2019. And I remember it very well, guys. I remember New York media was just falling all over themselves, saying, oh, this is the new team in town. They're going to overtake the Knicks in popularity. They're going to win a championship. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. I remember it well. And I remember actually going on Facebook Live, lamenting the signing a little bit, but saying, I don't trust that combination. I don't think they deliver a championship. I actually went live on Facebook saying that. And I stood by it each and every year. So here's the seasons that he put forth with the Brooklyn Nets. 2019-2020, their first season, where they had Kenny Atkinson, a very fine coach. They had him at the helm. But remember that first season, Kevin Durant was still out with the ACL, so there was no Kevin Durant there. So he made the best of a bad situation. The team went 35-37, which was 7th in the East, so enough to make it into the playoffs at least. And Kyrie, this is his numbers. He only played 20 of the 72 games because, remember, that's when the pandemic hit. So they actually cut down the games. They stopped the season, then they restarted it towards the summer as COVID started to kind of open up things. So he only played 20 games. He did average 27.4 points per game, 6.4 assists, 5.2 rebounds, a steal and a half. He shot it 47.8% from the field, 39.4 from three-point range, and 92.2% from the free throw line. So that year, out of 72 games, he only played 20, guys. Because of injury, yes, because of injury. Also because of the events of that happened at the Capitol on January 6th. He decided to take time off for that. Then when it came time for the team to reconvene and go in the bubble, he refused to do that. So things weren't easy for Coach Atkinson. And once the season ended, him and KD decided that Atkinson can no longer be the coach. So they bring in a hand-picked coach, Steve Nash, who worked with KD while he was in Golden State. So they hand-picked the coach. And then we enter 2020-21 season. In that season, Steve Nash's inaugural season. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. Kenny Atkinson didn't even make it to the end of the season. They brought Jock Vaughn in. Actually, he coached in the bubble, I believe. Kenny Atkinson was fired prior to entering the bubble. So, anyhow, enter Steve Nash. And for the season, Steve Nash, his team went 48-24, which I thought was pretty good considering, all the upheaval that took place during that season. They finished second in the East. Kyrie, out of 82 games, played 54 games, so he still missed about over 20 games there. Averaged nearly 27 points per game, 6 assists, nearly 5 rebounds, along with over a steal per game. Shot at 50.6% from the field, 40.2% from three, and then again 92.2% from the free throw line. This is the year where around I want to say it was before the trade deadline or maybe near it. They traded for James Harden. So they got James Harden from Houston. They unloaded a boatload of people, including Caris LeVert, Jared Allen, and a few others, if I'm not mistaken. So major young pieces you shipped out to bring in Harden. So you had the big three there. Harden came over. Harden wasn't in the best of physical shape. He had the hamstring issues that was plaguing him pretty much throughout the season. So, and it plagued him in that playoffs as well. But, I give Harden credit. He showed up. Kyrie, on the other hand, he played in I believe he played in the first round, and then in the second round against the Milwaukee Bucks, he only played one game in that series, and he missed the rest of the series. So, So, in fact, I'm sorry, he missed the last 3 games of the season. So, a crucial part of the series, he wasn't present, whether it be injury or whatever. So his services weren't available. So you have Kevin Durant there doing the best he can. James Harden, who again, was playing through the hamstring injury, playing through that. So doing the best he could, but they fall short to Milwaukee. We know about Kevin Durant's toe being on the line and all that sort of stuff. So they get bounced from the playoffs in the second round. So let us move on to 2021-22. Steve Nash back again as the coach. But I'm sorry. Let me double back. The 2020-21 season, that's when Kyrie refused to get the vaccination. There was a requirement for all players to get vaccinated. He refused to do so. So he didn't make his season debut until December 22nd of 2020. So right off the top, he missed games. Then he missed some games along the way as well. So again, this is a guy who recruited Kevin Durant to come to the team and to buy in, and they both go over there try and win a championship. So one player has bought in, the other one not so much, not enough to get vaccinated. So but again, like I've always said, a player who at one time thought the earth was flat, I don't know if he still does, is definitely not going to go and get vaccinated. He's a conspiracy theorist at the highest. But anyway, I digress. So I forgot to throw that caveat in. So let's go to 2021-22 season. They finished 7th. Kevin Durant gets hurt, and Kyrie also gets hurt as well. So they finished 7th. Kyrie for the season, 29 games. So out of the 82, he plays in only 29. 27.4 points per game, nearly 6 assists, 4.4 rebounds. He shoots it From the field, nearly 47%. From three, nearly 42% from three. And then 91.5% from the free throw line. So this is the season where Harden said, because Kevin Durant gets hurt again, and then it's Harden and Kyrie there. Harden sees what's going on there with Kyrie and him being in and out and not totally bought in. And Hart says, you know what? I want no more of this. Get me out of here. So he gets his trade request met. He goes to Philadelphia. They bring back Ben Simmons, Steph Curry, Andre Drummond, and whatever else came in that deal. So Harden gets his wish and he goes elsewhere. They get Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons never suits up for the 2021-22 season, because when he got there, come to find out, the man had a strained back, so he never made it onto the court for that season. So, and then we know what happened. Came playoff time, they faced Boston in that first round. Actually, I'm sorry, they had to go in the play-in tournament. They had to go in the play-in tournament. They won the game, so they got the chance to face the Boston Celtics. Boston Celtics, who, by the way, swept them and ended up going to the NBA Finals. So, so Brooklyn Nets totally didn't show up for that playoffs. You can put the blame in a few different places. You know, they want to blame the coach, what have you, so on and so forth. But nonetheless, they get bounced out. So everybody talks tough, big and tough after the series. Oh, you know, we got to hang in there, this and that, what have you. Then come the off season. Kyrie has an opt-out. He chooses, well, he first makes overtures that, you know, he want to get moved. He want to get moved to the Lakers, of course, to rejoin with LeBron. That doesn't happen. They call his bluff. They say, look, we're not trading you. So what he does, instead of trying, you know, opting out, betting on himself and going to the Lakers, he chose to opt in. So he opts in at $36 million, what have you, and he stays with the Brooklyn Nets. So we have the 2022-23 seasons. Steve Nash starts the season, doesn't make it through to Thanksgiving. He's fired as a coach. In comes Jock Vaughn, and he kind of turns the program around a bit. Right at the moment that Kyrie got traded, they were at 32-20, which was fourth in the East. So, and Kyrie for the season, he did play 40 games, so you gotta grant him that. Over 27 points per game, well over 5 assists, over 5 rebounds, 48.6% from the field, only 37.4% from three, and 88.3% from the free throw line. Again, Katie gets hurt. This time it's the MCL that is of most recent. So then you have a Ben Simmons that's in and out of your lineup with his knee issues and everything else that's going on with him. And you still dealing with his reluctance to shoot. So all of that, and not to mention Kyrie's still waiting to get re-signed. That didn't happen. So, by the way, let's circle back to him going on Twitter to highlight a film that many deem as anti-Semitic. I'm not saying that he is, but he puts up a post about a film that is deemed anti-Semitic. That doesn't necessarily make him that, but needless to say, it's not a good look. So the owner, Josiah, what does he do? He makes a list of ridiculous stipulations for Kyrie to meet in order for him to return back to the court. So they suspend him indefinitely until he meets said requirements. So till this day, I'm not sure if he even met them all, but nonetheless, he eventually makes it back to the court. So and then, of course, like I said, Friday he asks for a trade. I guess he didn't feel respected by the organization, so he requested a trade. Josiah said, "You know what? Yeah, let me wash my hands of this," and he was sent packing. So I say all this to say, I started out being right. I ended up being right. The Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving pairing in Brooklyn was an utter failure. Let us all be clear about that. It was an utter failure. You didn't make it even to a conference finals with that pairing. And media heads are just in a tizzy over this. They are hurt. They are lashing out. And they're lashing out at Kyrie. So, they're just upset because every year they fell for the bait. Every year they fell for the bait. The Chris Broussards of the world, the Rob Parkers of the world, even the Stephen A. Smiths of the world, even the Jay Williams of the world, all these guys picking the Nets to go to the NBA Finals if everybody behaves and is healthy. That's not going to happen. It didn't happen in any of the 4 years that they were together. It didn't happen. So for you to expect, and just, I'm not here to bash the guy, but if you got a track record, you got a track record. So Kyrie didn't do himself wonders in Boston. He didn't like being under the thumb of LeBron in Cleveland. So he wanted to be his own man. He went to Boston. Then he come to find out he actually lamented about it. Maybe I had it good after all, in Cleveland. So you make your bed, you lie in it. So all I'm going to say is, he's now in Dallas, so we'll see what happens there. The biggest question is, where's KD's head in the aftermath of all this? Some people have suggested that ownership doesn't make this deal without Kevin Durant's blessing. Do I think that? It's really hard to say. It's hard to say. Because this is supposedly your guy. This is your boy. So for you to sign off on that, it just doesn't look good. Especially for a man who... by the way, I forget this part of it. He grew up rooting for the Nets. So he goes to the team he rooted for when he was, coming up in New Jersey. So, and he pretty much sets the place ablaze as he walks out the door. So, but where's Kevin Durant's head? I can't answer that. I can't begin to think like he thinks. So, I guess we'll find out by the trade deadline. If he's still a net come the trade deadline, that means he's 10 toes in. So again, I talk about the tizzy of the media over this whole thing, and some question, are Stephen A's attacks on Kyrie personal? They not to peek ahead at week 17, but I guess we can kind of do that a little bit. Him and Jay Williams go at it back and forth about, whether his attacks on Kyrie is it hitting below the belt or so forth. So, and I guess, I don't get in the business of pocket watching. I don't pocket watch and tell a team what to pay a player or not. That's not for me to do. So when you get into that, when you start doing that, then yeah, I kind of gotta play you distant. When you say that this man should be paid on a year-by-year basis, I understand what you're saying with that, but can you really do that? Can you? I guess you could, but I would hate to have to be a NBA owner who has to make that decision. Let me just put it that way. So, but I'm all about the athlete getting all the money you can. You know why? Because ownership is getting all the money they're getting. So why not the players as well? So that's my feeling on that. But so the media's going crazy, and it serves them right. It serves them right for not knowing the golden rule. Championships are not won on paper. Let us get that out the way. So, how will the Kyrie and Luka pairing work in Dallas? I say one of the ways it should be able to work, I say definitely stagger their play. In other words, when Luka is out, Kyrie is definitely the number one option. Obviously, when Kyrie is out, Luka just resumes being Luka. When they're both in there, Luka has to be the number one guy. He has to be. So, will Kyrie be happy with being a secondary player? He did it in Brooklyn because he was with his boy KD, but will he do it with a Luka Doncic? We'll see what happens there. So, a lot of intrigue as far as that goes, so we see what happens. All right, so we've touched the Kyrie situation. We beat it down to a pulp, it seems. So let's move on. Second news item, All-Star Reserves. All-Star Reserves, they're in. We know who the coaches are for the Team Giannis. It's going to be Joe Mazzulla of the Boston Celtics. And for Team LeBron, it will be Mike Malone of the Denver Nuggets. So kudos to those guys there. Your West squad, I got that because I made predictions, guys. I got 6 of the 7 right. I would have got 7 for 7 if they didn't pull a fast one on me. So, we got Ja Morant. He's going of the Memphis Grizzlies. Lauri Markkanen, he's going. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, rightfully so, he's going of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Damian Lillard's going, Portland Trail Blazers. Paul George, I figured he'd get in, and he did get in for the Clippers. Domantas Sabonis, rightfully so, with the Sacramento Kings. And the surprise player that made it that I didn't even figure into anything, Jarrett Jackson Jr. I was absolutely stunned he made it. So I missed out on De'Aaron Fox, who should have made it. And now with the Steph Curry injury, I'm going to talk about that in a minute as well. This now opens a door for De'Aaron Fox to make it. So we'll see what happens there. So I got a chance to still be right in all of this. So there's that bit of news. For the East, I got 4 of the 7 right. And actually, I should have followed my own advice on one of the players at least. So, Joel Embiid of the Sixers, that's an obvious one. Jaylen Brown, Boston Celtics, obvious there. Julius Randle made it. I predicted he may make the team, and he did. DeMar DeRozan, I figured he would make it, and he made it as well. Here's the three players that I missed out on. Two of which I really talked up them making it, but I didn't pick them. Jrue Holiday of the Milwaukee Bucks, he made it. He's one I felt who definitely deserved All-Star consideration, and he made it, thankfully. Bam Adebayo. That was a guy I thought of all the Miami players, he was probably the most worthy, but somehow in my reasoning, I talked about Jimmy Butler. I don't know why, but Bam Adebayo, and he made it rightfully so. Tyrese Haliburton, I was kind of surprised about because of the injury, but he's back now. I'll talk about that as well. So Tyrese Haliburton ends up making it, and then on his Twitter page, he puts up a picture of, as his profile picture, Wally Szczerbiak, because during a Knicks broadcast with the Knicks playing Indiana, he makes disparaging remarks about Tyrese Haliburton, how he's a fake wannabe all-star. So he put the picture up. I mean, Wally, I think privately Wally said, yeah, I did kind of step over the line there. I don't know where it came from, to be honest with you. And when I heard it live, I was like, whoa. And even Alan Hard was like, yeah, I'm not amening this. So, anyhow, but he apologized for it. Let's move on, But I understand, players need motivation. So, Haliburton's obviously motivated by the fact that Szczerbiak said those things. So that's fine. But, I say let it go. So, anyhow, those three made it. So I missed out on Pascal Siakam, who I thought was an absolute snub. Darius Garland, I thought would make it, being that he's usually the guy when Donovan Mitchell goes out, is out with injury or so forth. He didn't make it. And Trae Young, I was surprised he didn't make it. The man is averaging a 20-10 double-double, over 27 points, along with over 10 assists. So I was stunned he didn't make it. James Harden, I guess I get it because the games missed, so I could go either way on him. Jalen Brunson, I figured he would get snubbed. So I was prepared for that. So because they weren't going to take two Knicks on this All-Star team. So that's your All-Star reserve. So again, you might have room for a couple of guys. Not sure the situation with Zion. It looks like Kevin Durant probably won't be available for the All-Star game, so that'll open up a spot. So hopefully a few of my picks can get in there, especially De'Aaron Fox. I think he should get in. So, all right, so that is the second bit of news. Third, let's talk about these injuries. Major injuries here. Steph Curry, he has a leg injury now that he got versus the Dallas Mavericks in their 119-113 win. So he suffered that, I believe, in the third quarter of that game. There's no timetable for his return, so that's not good news, that's for sure. So, but they said for all intents and purposes he will miss the All-Star game, so he'll definitely be out through the All-Star break. So bad break for the Warriors. Looked like they was trying to right the ship over there, but again, without their leader, that's going to be a problem. So, and then for Portland, Jusuf Nurkic, their center, he has a strained calf. He got that versus while at the Memphis Grizzlies in their 122 to 112 win. So, and he's going to be out through the All-Star break. So they made it clear he'll be out through then. So they're going to have to rely on the services like a Jrue Eubanks and those guys that they have over there. So hopefully they can get through this week, a little more than a week or so of basketball. And once they come out of the All-Star break, they can get their center back. So, and then returning from injury is speaking of Tyrese Haliburton. After missing 10 games, he suffered that injury in the Knicks game with the knee and the elbow. So he's back now, and he came back actually versus the Celtics on February the 2nd. So now he's back with the Pacers. So that's your news there. Speaking of the Lakers, next news item, LeBron James now is in the top 4 in career assists. So he just passed Mark Jackson and Steve Nash to now be in 4th place in that regard. LeBron James breaking all kind of records this season. So next in his sights, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which he should break in this week 17. So, and then his teammate Russell Westbrook, he is now in the top 10 in assists. He just passed Gary Payton on the all-time list. So I don't know if I'm trying to think in the history of the game, has there been 2 teammates who simultaneously made it onto the top 10 list of in any category, to be honest, whether it be scoring or rebounding, to make the top 10? I don't think that. I have to look into that one. I don't think that's so. But anyway, so Russell Westbrook moving into the top 10. He was humbled by it. So Russell Westbrook, kudos to him. So he needs some good news this season, with all that he's had to deal with. And of course, with the trade deadline coming along, all the trade rumors swirling around him. So hopefully come February 9th, he'll be at peace whether he stays with the Lakers or not. So I kind of root for Russell Westbrook. The guy plays hard, man, but anyway, let me not get off at a tangent there. So all right, so next bit of news. Let's talk about the January players of the month, the coaches of the month, and the rookies of the month right quick. Players of the month for the West, Nikola Jokic. His team went 12-4. He averaged 24 points per game, 11.6 assists, and 11.6 rebounds, 11.3 assists. So the man averaged a triple-double for the month, guys. So he's putting in that work. Although he missed a couple of games here and there. So, but nonetheless, he is the player of the month. And, oh, by the way, his coach is the coach of the month. So, Mike Malone. So you got double honors there. And your player of the month for the East, oddly enough, Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, his team went 11-3 for the month. He averaged nearly 35 points per game, 10.7 rebounds, over 3 assists, and 1.6 blocks. Oh, by the way, Doc Rivers, his coach of the month for the East. So there you have it, guys. Double honors for both the Sixers and the Nuggets. So your rookies of the month in the East are pretty simple. Paolo Banchero with his over 20 points per game, nearly 6 rebounds, and over 3 assists. And for the West, Keegan Murray of the Sacramento Kings. He's actually playing well at the right time for them. Averaging 14 points, nearly 6 rebounds for him. And he's shooting at 49.5% from 3, guys. So Keegan Murray's starting to heat up, guys. So, and the Sacramento Kings need it with the way they're playing. They're playing very well, guys. So that is your news there. So let us move on. There's a few other news items here to deal with. Guys, we had our first postponed game of the season, and that was between the Washington Wizards and the Detroit Pistons. Their game got postponed because Detroit was actually in Dallas, and due to the severe weather in Dallas, they were unable to fly back home in time for the Washington game. So that game got postponed. They're going to reschedule it shortly, so look out for that bit of news. So there's that. And then finally, 2 altercations took place last week. After a week of pretty much quietness in that regard, you get 2 in 1 week. Dillon Brooks, this guy, man, he's like an irritant now. He's becoming like a Patrick Beverly of sorts. So he goes in for a layup, misses the layup. He flails his arms and ends up hitting Donovan Mitchell in the groin. Donovan Mitchell then turns around and throws the ball at him and just goes after him. So, and this happened during the Cleveland 128-113 win over the Memphis Grizzlies. So, Dillon Brooks picked the wrong one. Donovan Mitchell is nobody's pushover. So, the guys as tough as they come, and you picked the wrong one there. So with that, Dillon Brooks gets suspended. Only a game. He gets only a game suspension. So, but Dillon Brooks, we saw maybe about a couple of weeks back, he got into it with Shannon Sharp of Undisputed. So he's a guy who's starting to make a name for himself, and not in a good way. And then we have the situation with Mo Bamba and Austin Rivers. So Mo Bamba goes after Austin Rivers, and then Austin Rivers take on a whole bunch of Orlando Magic players. What happens is Austin Rivers goes shoots a 3 in front of the Orlando bench. Mo Bamba says something slick to him, and then next thing we know, Mo Bamba's going out there going after Austin Rivers, and Austin Rivers, I believe, got him good. So, and then other players got involved. Jalen Suggs grabs onto Austin Rivers, and I believe a few other players as well. So when all is said and done, Mo Bamba gets 4-game suspension. Austin Rivers gets a 3-game suspension. Jalen Suggs gets 1-game suspension, and other players get fined as well. And this happened during a Orlando Magic and Minnesota game in which Orlando won 127-120. So guys, that's all the news as far as the NBA goes. If I got a few minutes, let me cover the WNBA. So we'll do some WNBA right quick. Just a few items here. Their free agency started on February 1st. And of course, for the second straight year, Tom Brady goes on Instagram saying, "Oh, I'm done with football, this and that." So of course, taking shine away from the ladies. So, what can you do with Tom Brady? But he's done. He's going. Well, he's not going quietly into retirement, but you did all you could. You're done. So anyway, so let's cover a few teams here. The New York Liberty, they were probably the busiest team of them all. They acquired Jonquel Jones. I think I mentioned that previously. They got her in a 3-team trade. She's coming from the Connecticut Sun. She's a one-time league MVP. Very fine player that they're getting there. Along with her, they're also getting Kayla Thornton from the Dallas Wings as well. So you get 2 forwards there. But Jonquel Jones, that's the key piece there. So already the Liberty loading up. But they're not done. They also signed in free agency Breanna Stewart. Whew. This is a big signing, guys. They got her from Seattle. For those that followed the WNBA last year, she was also a free agent, and she actually visited New York, but she decided to stay. I guess she did that out of obligation to Sue Bird, being that it was her last season. Now that Sue Bird is retired, that really doesn't tie her to staying with Seattle, because you got to remember, her and Sue Bird are fellow alums. So Breanna Stewart picks up from Seattle, and now she is a New York Liberty. And this changes the balance of power, guys. You're able to pair a Jonquel Jones and a Breanna Stewart, along with Sabrina Ionescu. Oh, by the way, they also add Courtney VanderSloot from the Chicago Sky, the seasoned veteran point guard. So I tell you what, guys, I love what the New York Liberty has done here. I love what they've done. And I actually got into it with a guy on Facebook because he doesn't like the coach, Sandy Brondello. He says she doesn't develop talent. She's a win-now coach. Of course she's not going to develop young players and do those sort of things. She wants to win now. All these players that come in, the target is on her back right now. The pressure's on her to deliver and bring a WNBA championship to New York. All the flagship WNBA franchises have they have those titles. They have the championship, all except the New York Liberty. So these moves are major in doing that. So you have her, and Bethany Laney, you still have her as well. So I'm telling you guys, this team is a team to watch. I already said, you know what? Let me grab me some tickets. I'm not getting season tickets, but I'll get a few tickets here and there. I'll be checking out them playing the Las Vegas Aces, who I'll be talking about in a minute. So, yeah, so the New York Liberty is going for it, guys. Chicago Sky, on the other hand, they lose Candace Parker, Courtney VanderSloot, Allie Quigley. She says she's going to sit out the season, so she's not returning to the Sky. Azura Stevens, she's gone elsewhere as well. So pretty much they got Kalia Copper there. They did sign a few free agents though. Courtney Williams from the Connecticut Sun, they got her. Isabella Harrison, Elizabeth Williams as well. So they got some players in return, but of course they pretty much gutted that championship team. Emma Misamin, not sure what's going to happen with her. She's a free agent, so we'll see what happens there. Connecticut Sky, Mark Wade's going to have to work some miracles over there, guys. The coach there, and actually also the GM as well. So Las Vegas Aces. Now they started out, they traded Dearica Hamby to the Los Angeles Sparks in what was a controversial trade because They did re-sign her in the off season, previous off season, but supposedly there's some chatter about they signed the deal not knowing that she was pregnant. So now that she was pregnant, now they kind of holding that against her. So they dealt her while she's pregnant now, by the way. So that's bringing up a whole set of issues there. I don't think we heard the last of this. I think we'll probably hear from the WNBA Players Association on that. So that remains to be seen. So you had that bit of news there. And then the biggest splash for them, Candace Parker signs with the Las Vegas Aces. So you add a veteran like Candace Parker, man, that's big time. And not only her, you also add Alysha Clark from the Washington Mystics. So those are two huge signings for the Las Vegas Aces. So they're trying to defend their crown, guys. So you still got Asia Wilson there, Chelsea Gray, Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young. So that team's already loaded, and you just loaded up some more. They also re-signed Kia Stokes, who did such a great job filling in for Dearica Hamby during last season. And also Sydney Colson's coming back as well. So the Las Vegas Aces not losing a beat, and they're loading up for bear as well. Speaking of the LA Sparks, so they traded for Hamby. We got to see as far as her status goes because, again, she is pregnant. So we got to see when she'll be able to bounce back and come back. The Awumake sisters are back. Aneka and her sister as well. They re-signed. They also signed Stephanie Talbert from the Seattle Storm, and Azura Stevens from the Chicago Sky. So on the low, the Sparks are looking good, and they got Kurt Miller now as the coach. So we'll see what happens there, guys. So the Sparks kind of doing something as well on the low. The Dallas Wings, they re-signed Tierra McCowan, their center there, so they are able to sign her up. Also, Alysha Gray, they acquired them, part of that 3-team trade, the Jonquel Jones trade, so they were able to get Alysha Gray as well as Natasha Howard and also Crystal Dangerfield. So. Oh, and the Sparks also acquired in a trade Jasmine Thomas from the Connecticut Sun. So Dallas is one of those teams too. You gotta be like, you're kind of doing something there. So keep an eye on them. Washington Mystics, and losing Alysha Clark, they did sign Brittany Sky. So she's kind of like another defensive-minded player. So definitely somebody who's going to have to take the place of Clark there. And they traded for Amanda Sohoy B. And they got her from the Las Vegas Aces. So Phoenix, they re-signed Sophie Cunningham, so she's going to stay there. And of course, hopefully they'll have a healthy and ready Brittany Griner there. We'll see how that goes. And Seattle, they were able to sign Sammy Whitcomb of the New York Liberty, so they're good in that regard. So that is a bit of your free agency there. There's still more players out there to be signed, but that's the early news as far as that goes. So that's it, guys. Hey, you got a little bit of both, guys, NBA and WNBA. So, all right, so I'm going to cut it off there, but once again, I thank you for listening. Much appreciated. And guys, don't be afraid. Go on to my website, allthingsbasketballwithgd.com, and you write a review there. sign up for the news, for the any news updates and so forth. Get on our mailing list. You can do all that on the website there, or go on my YouTube page. Go on my YouTube page. This episode probably be up shortly, so I got the Kareem one. I'm working on that, putting that on the YouTube as well, but it's already available on the website and other podcast platforms as well. So, all right, guys. So I'm going to cut it off here. As always, I thank you for listening. Much appreciated, and we'll talk soon. Take care. So, my peeps, if you like what you're listening to, you can go to my website, www.allthingsbasketballwithgd.com. You can also email me at thatsportsdudegd@gmail.com. To support this podcast, you can go to my PayPal, and that email is thatsportsdudegd@gmail.com. Also on my Anchor page, I have a support button there that you can also use to help the podcast. I'm on all the major platforms like Anchor, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, Amazon, SoundCloud, YouTube, Castbox, Radio Public, Podchaser, just to name a few. And also you can find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Clubhouse, and Fanbase. So once again, I thank you for listening and supporting this podcast, and take care and be safe.